Hey there everyone, and welcome to Bill's Retro Gaming Show. On today's video, we're going to be taking a look at 5 years of Arcade1up, where they've been, where they are now, and maybe a little bit of where they plan to go in the future. It's all coming up right after this. Alright everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. If this is your first time on the channel, be sure to hit that subscription button. Click the notification bell if you want to be notified every time I put up a new video. Give this one a thumbs up and leave a comment below if you want to be part of the conversation. So in case some of you missed it, earlier this week, Arcade1up did another one of their That's One Up shows, or whatever it is that they call that now, hosted by Michael B. the Game Genie, and they talked about their 5-year anniversary and answered some community questions, different things like that. And I just wanted to take a couple of minutes in this video and touch on that video, give my thoughts and opinions on some of the things that they talked about. I'm not going to cover everything, but I am going to hit some of the highlights. At least I'll say the highlights for me. There will be a link in the description to the original video from Arcade1up. It's on their YouTube page. It's not on Michael B's page. It's on the Arcade1up page. So if you missed it, you could definitely check it out. It's about an hour long. It was, definitely worth checking out. You can see some of the stuff that I don't cover. You can see what they say for yourself. Decide for yourself if, my opinions are on or off. But for sure, check it out. But let's get started and let's dive in. So as I said, one of the main purposes of this particular stream that they did was to celebrate Arcade1up's 5-year anniversary. And I actually thought it was kind of cool how they kind of did that in a comparison to one of their bigger games, which of course is Pac-Man, going from the original Pac-Man that they released, which was, just the 4-foot, no riser, couple of games on it, all the way up to their newest XL version that you can find at Costco with multiple games on it, bigger form factor, bigger screen, all that kind of stuff, and using that as almost like a metaphor for their evolution from when they first started to where they are now. And I actually thought that that was kind of a neat analogy, and I liked how they did that. Now, another thing they did that I actually thought was pretty cool is they had people from the community send in video of their home arcade spaces, and they showcased a bunch of them during the show. So if you were one of the ones who had your home arcade shown during that stream, kudos to you. That was awesome. I actually did like to see a lot of that. It gave me inspiration for my own little space for sure, but it was really cool to get to see what people have done with their home arcades. So I thought that was really a neat way to do that, and to kind of, touch base with the community again, which I will say they did a lot of during this stream. And again, I'll touch on a little bit more as I go through that. But there were definitely some highlights, some lowlights as we go through. But the next thing I want to touch on is they went through a bunch of community-led questions, and some of the answers were good, some of them not so good. And let's just go through and touch on a couple of those. Now, some of the first questions they got were on, recent releases and things coming up, like, the pricing on Time Crisis. Are we going to see more XL cabs in the future? Are we going to see things like better buttons and things like that? And, first off, the XL question was obviously pretty easy and pretty straightforward. The answer is yes, we will see more XLs in the future. We will see them go back and revisit older cabs like Pac-Man and bring those out in XL. Now, which ones? Obviously, they weren't going to say during this stream, but we know that, in the future, maybe possibly next year, we can look forward to seeing some older cabs re-released in the XL format. So we'll just have to wait and see where those go. As far as questions on, pricing on Time Crisis, better buttons, things like that, I gotta say, they were very pat marketing speech answers, in my personal opinion. Cyrus is a good guy. I think he's a nice guy, but I think a lot of times he gives very politically correct, very marketing speech type answers. And for a lot of these questions, yeah, that's what we got. We got, the very corporate line, pat kind of answers. Now I'm going to touch on this in just a couple of minutes, but listen, say what you want about a guy like John D. Whether you liked him, whether you didn't like him, he was not exactly politically correct when it came to giving some of these answers. He was pretty much, a straight shooter in terms of, this is the answer as far as I'm concerned, this is the answer kind of thing. Whereas Cyrus is much more, company line, marketing speech. If you go back and you listen to it, you'll hear that, a lot of times he repeats the same thing over and over again when he gives his answers, like they're very rehearsed and things like that. So, that wasn't as great to hear. I would love, to hear somebody again just give it to you straight, even if the answer is no, or we'll see whatever. But his very straight-laced marketing speech answers, I don't think go very far with people, which is unfortunate. So maybe that's something he can kind of take to heart and work on a little bit better. And of course, with At Games getting the Zen Pinball license, the question did have to come up about Arcade1up and their relationship with Zen Pinball. And Cyrus did say that they do still have a relationship. Again, kind of very marketing speech, didn't really give any kind of answer as to what that relationship is. Do they have plans to bring out any more pinball in the future? We've heard in the past that, they didn't feel like they could bring pinball out at a price point that they wanted, that they felt the price point was too high. Which is funny when you go back and again look at Time Crisis at $750. But again, having said that, we really don't know exactly where that relationship stands. It was interesting to hear him, give kudos to At Games and say he was excited to see what they had planned. Again, not trying to obviously cause ruffles in the community with that, trying to keep a good, friendly, competitive relationship going with At Games, I would guess. So, very pat answers. And of course, they had to touch on, the leaked list of games for next year. And Cyrus definitely downplayed the list a lot, even going so far as to claim it wasn't really a leak, whatever that means. I mean, I don't know how it got out if it wasn't a leak, but again, definitely downplayed it. One thing he did say, interestingly enough, was that Lethal Enforcers was not something they were actively working on. And he did say something that I kind of touched on in my video. Again, thank you guys so much for all of you who did check out my video on the leak game list for 2024. I definitely appreciate all of the support on that. You guys checking it out, all the feedback you've given, which I'll touch on again in a second. But it was, I did say during that I thought that some of the games on this list might get prototyped, but never actually come to market. And Cyrus basically said the same thing during, his answer on it, that a lot of times they will prototype certain games just to see, where they're going to go with it, with no intentions of ever bringing it to market, or maybe test marketing something and finding there isn't enough interest there to actually fully pursue it. But he also did say that some of the games were actually closer to coming out than people might think. So that is exciting to hear. Now, again, a lot of you have been leaving feedback on the video that I did, not just on the games list itself, but telling me games you would love to see Arcade1up actually do that weren't on that list. And that's been awesome to see, and I've been loving that. I think some of the games are really inspired. Some of them are a little far-fetched. They're all great games. Everybody who's mentioned games, they've all been great games. Like I said, some of them might be a little bit out there for a company like Arcade1up to do. But one thing I will say is, again, Arcade1up has put out some posts, some community posts out there. I'll have one of them linked in the description for you guys, for you to send them lists of games that you would like to see them do. Now, where that's going to go in the future, what they actually plan on doing that, will any of them actually come to fruition? Again, we'll have to see, but it is interesting that they do want the community feedback. So while I have loved all of you leaving ideas for games on my video, and please keep doing it, definitely keep leaving comments, keep watching the video. I love it. It's awesome. Go ahead and send those same games to Arcade1up, because look, we just don't know what they have planned with that. And again, that kind of does lead me into the next thing, and I touched on this name a little bit earlier in today. And that's the status of guys like John D. and Scott Backrack. And are they still with the company? Now, I will say kudos to Arcade1up for finally answering this question officially, because the rumors have obviously been swirling for a while on whether or not those two were still with the company. And now we know for a fact that John D. and Scott Backrack are no longer with Arcade1up. Now, do I buy Cyrus's answer that they decided to leave to pursue other interests? I don't know. I'm not 100% convinced that it was all their idea and that it wasn't maybe mutual decisions or maybe not decisions on their part. I don't know. But, that is, again, that's the corporate company answer, is that they decided to pursue other things. So, but, the point is that we now know beyond a shadow of doubt that they are not with the company anymore, that there is new leadership involved, kind of risen through the ranks within Arcade1up. So, again, we'll have to see if this new leadership, new blood, whatever you want to call it, comes to any changes in the future. Doing, shows like this and some of the other things that they're going to do, which I'll touch on in a second. Having community posts out there where they want feedback from people on games they would like to see. I don't know, maybe these are all good signs. We'll have to wait and see, where it actually goes in the future, because, we've seen these kind of things before from companies where they get all gung-ho about the community and, they want feedback, they want all this stuff, and, a couple months down the road, they forget about it and they just do, go back to status quo and doing what they always did in the past. So, we'll have to see if this continues from Arcade1up. But so far, other than some of the, the marketing corporate speech answers, I thought a lot of the show was actually pretty good. And then, of course, that led into the big announcement that, yes, Travis is back. Travis MCP is back and working with Arcade1up. Now, does that mean Michael B is getting kicked to the curb? No, it doesn't seem like it. It looks like Michael B is still going to be doing some of these shows like he's been doing with them in the past. But Travis is with them, seems more as in a consulting role, perhaps, as he's been giving them community-led ideas and feedback and different things, which hopefully they're going to start listening to and taking to heart. And again, I think that's where a lot of this particular show came from, especially the big announcement that Travis had. Well, two big announcements, I will say. The first one that I want to touch on, which I think is, again, pretty awesome, is the fact that he's got Arcade1up convinced that they need to keep up on some of their older cabs. Now, what does that mean? That means doing updates, doing things like that. Apparently, right after the show or the next day after the show, Blitz got an update. You guys who own Blitz, let me know in the comments. Did you get the update and what did it do? Because I haven't heard anybody talking about it. So I'm curious to see what the Blitz update actually did for you guys. Beyond that, he was very cryptic about what other updates were coming. But supposedly they're going to talk about that again in the next show in October. So we'll wait to hear more on that. My guess is we're going to see things like maybe the long-awaited patch to fix the sound audio sync on Dragon's Lair. Maybe bringing spectate mode to some of their other online cabs, Mortal Kombat. Maybe some of the sports ones like Blitz and NBA Jam. We will, we'll just have to see what they have planned for things like that. But again, these are all good things if they actually follow through with it, and if they continue to follow through with it, and they're not like one shot and we're back to status quo. Now, of course, the last big announcement that they made was this World Championship tournament, an actual sanctioned by Arcade1up tournament that's going to be going on over an 8-week period starting this Friday. And I'm super excited that my buddy Moat, Mike of All Trades, is going to be hosting it. As a matter of fact, a little, behind the scenes for you guys who didn't know, when Travis brought this idea to Arcade1up, he specifically had Moat in mind and didn't want to do it unless they brought him in. Moat has a great channel called the Back Alley 711. You guys got to check it out. I'm going to have links in the description to a video that he put out on this World Championship and what you got to do to sign up, what it's all about, things like that. So I'm not going to go into it in a ton of detail here. Check his video out. Go subscribe to the Back Alley 711 so you could check this out. I think this is an awesome idea. Mike's been doing these tournaments, you know, kind of on his own for a while, just to bring the community together, just to have fun. So it's nice to have one that's actually fully sanctioned by Arcade1up, even if they're not like ponying up the money for it. Travis is actually doing a lot of that because this is kind of his baby, his idea, which hopefully is going to lead to other things. So I'm going to say this too. If you're interested in participating, again, check out Mike of All Trades, check out the Back Alley 7-Eleven, and sign up to be a part of this tournament. If you're not interested in participating, go check it out anyway and watch it. Whether you watch it live, whether you watch it on a replay, be a part of it in some way, shape, or form. Again, even if you're not psyched about fighting games, because these are all going to be 4 different fighting games that they're going to be doing over an 8-week period. Just because a lot of these games kind of lend themselves to the tournament style. The games that they picked have things like lobbies and spectate mode and all for people to be able to watch and hang out in and everything. So again, even if you're not excited about that kind of stuff, go and check it out anyway, because I think if it gets a lot of support, it's going to convince Arcade1up that they should do more of these with the community and maybe even, you know, get more fully involved themselves with prizes and awards and different things. I know Mike has talked about doing like a Blitz or an NBA Jam tournament. Those cabs need to have things like spectate mode and things on them in order to make it viable. If this does well, maybe that will convince Arcade1up. They need to go back and patch those for that, for those of you who are interested. Again, Mortal Kombat, I know fighting game, but that's one that could definitely get an update. And I gotta say, I would love to see them do tournaments like high score chaser tournaments. You know, something that you wouldn't necessarily think of seeing because they're not head-to-head games, but maybe a score chaser with games like Pac-Man or Galaga, where you're vying for the high score on it, whether, you know, you stream, you know, yourself playing or you submit high scores or whatever, and it becomes a part of it. You know, things like that could happen in the future. And if Arcade1up continues to, you know, be a part of the community in that way, lead things like this, you know, I think that that would be a good thing for them. And I think it would get people excited. I think it would bring the community together, because there has been so much division over the last year or so that, you know, if they can do some things to kind of bring people together more, that's always a good thing. Again, we'll have to wait and see how much of this is actually followed through. But in my personal opinion, for the most part, I thought it was a really good show. I thought, you know, the questions that were asked were good. They weren't, you know, necessarily just throw out their softball questions. Most of the answers were pretty good. Again, some of them very politically correct, very pat, very marketing speech. They need to work on that. They need to, you know, give more straight-laced, straightforward answers to people. But beyond that, like I said, a lot of the stuff that they're planning on doing with the community, all very good. So again, check out the Arcade1up stream for yourself. You can see the whole thing there. Go and check out Mike of All Trades. Check out the Back Alley 7-Eleven. Go see his videos on what he has planned for this tournament. Participate in it. Watch it. Do whatever it takes to make it successful so that they can do more of these things. But that's going to do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave me your comments below on, you know, what you thought. If you did watch the stream, what were your thoughts on it? What do you think of my take on it? You know, let me know. But that's going to do it for this one. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Take care.